what happened to the person to be alive is very simple and involves this 1, 2, 3. And right now, before we move to 2 and 3, I just want to review this one thing. We didn't finish it yesterday, but I know people say there was a lot of information I don't remember. I want to make it simple, but I want to review it. And again, right now we're just talking of number 1. So it's not everything, it's just number 1. What does the body do? Before we talk about the heart and other things, just what the body is doing. The body is a vessel, like a cup, like a pot, whatever vessel you want, that help us bring heaven energy inside to bind with it together. Right? The energy that comes from everywhere, this is called heaven energy. The vessel is a place to put it in. The only problem is that the energy from outside does not come to the body on its own, but rather we need to go get it. This is why the body has one part of it responsible to go out and get it. The other part is to be able to take it in. Going to get it out means on many different levels, from the emotions to organs inside that make us wake up and circulate the blood, to the physical body, skeleton, muscles, skin, to walk, everything that help us go out to get it. And that includes everything discovered already or not discovered yet, meaning thyroid hormones or some hormones they didn't find yet, but next year they're going to find. It doesn't matter. Whatever is there is included. And in this respect, what we're looking for is really not all the physical elements that other people are talking about, but rather we have our own unique model of understanding the body, just the body for now. So in reality, when people not feel good, there's very limited options of how they can feel not good. I mean, diseases you can have 100 million, but how people not feel good, there's very limited amount of options. There's a bunch of things, but it's not hundreds of thousands of things. And all these problems that we have, the different symptoms, feeling hot, cold, pain, thirsty, diarrhea, all these things, they divide to these 2 actions. Either it involves things going into unification, or my body needs to go out to reach the nature. Whatever it is, it's either this or that. There's nowhere else to go. So these things coming in involves the breathing air, the drinking water, the eating food, and also different things related to the heart, emotions coming in and other things. But on a physical level, just the body. Everything that comes in is here related. And when we have the energy and we need to use it in the daily activity, again, to reach to nature, and then also do anything else, to write on the computer, to look at things, to do things, it's all on this process of using my energy to the body, the physical body, to do things. So now we start to, we understand the general idea, but now we have many different symptoms and we start to localize them in the process. It's one process, getting energy, making it mine, and using it. It's actually one circle, it's not different circles. But now, to be doctors and to have application in clinic, you start to see where is it? Try to match a treatment, where is it? So like yesterday, someone naturally said, if you can eat and take the energy from the food, you'll probably be tired. Like all of a sudden it aligns. That if the energy, I can't take it, then I don't have energy. Meaning we start to unify the circle.
If you can't.
If you cannot, right? Like you can't take the energy from outside, then you'll be tired. This is called putting the circle together. Like seeing that this is all one business. Everything is one thing. And after we finish all the symptoms, we're going to start talking about the diagnosis. This is when it's coming in. Like how to connect it, because then it's going to decide how to do the treatment. Right now we didn't talk, this symptom is not the diagnosis. The symptom is just to know what it is, where it is, but the diagnosis is the whole method, how to do diagnosis. So when we go here along the circle, we just need to not remember it. There's nothing to remember. All the years that I learned things, I always hated to memorize. Memorize means I don't understand, I just try to remember. You just need to understand what happened, don't need to memorize anything. The process here is of energy starting to come into the body. That includes the food and the water, things with material. They go in and we start to separate them. So the symptoms here will be associated with this issue. Meaning I eat, I feel nauseous, or I throw up, We also said that my own energy needs to come in, not just the food coming, but I need to kind of go to sleep. The process starts to bring my energy in, not just the food in, it's my own energy. And we said that if it moves too slow, remember we had fast, slow, if it moves too slow, we start feeling warm all the time, and we start feeling thirsty. So, and because the body corresponds with nature constantly, if I drink, for example, hot water, it's making me feeling not so good. And other things, like there's many things, if we understand the principle, we get it on our own. For example, I'm just making some example. This person go outside in the sun, very hot. Is he going to feel good or bad? Bad, because the outside energy make it more separate. I'm already not doing it on time, and it make it slower, right? We call it slower. Let's say this person go take a hot shower. But how do you know that? I didn't tell you the answer. This is called like understanding what's happening. It's not like the answer. It's like I understand the idea, the issue. And this, you know, I'm sidetracking for a second here. It might sound weird, maybe, or strange, or arrogant, depending how you want it. But this in Hunyuan medicine, we call it having clarity. And this translates in the clinic 100%. And I give you an example from my clinic. And this is, you know, I have an online course, and part of the course in 2011, I recorded like 200 patient visits on the computer. So this thing is all recorded. And I have this patient on the computer, and she takes herbs, which we'll talk about later. And I know what's the situation. And this herbs should fit, looks to me. But yet the patient says, after I drink the herbs, I start feeling really hot and dizzy. And for this situation that I think the patient has, these herbs, I did it many, many times. There's no such thing feeling hot and dizzy, but the patient is feeling hot and dizzy. But it doesn't make sense. These herbs is not doing it. So it doesn't make sense to me, but because the patient experiences it, I can't say it's not true. It is true. But on the other hand, it's clear to me that the herbs is not possible for them to do it, yet it is still happening. So there's a problem here. So the patient said every morning she drinks the herbs, she starts feeling hot and she gets dizzy. So I'm starting to ask her, what else is happening in the morning? She said, I eat breakfast, I drink some coffee, I drink this, and nothing matched. Until all of a sudden she said, and also every morning I take a shower. And I said, do you like the shower, you do it very hot or cold? She said, no, I like the shower very, very hot. And when I come out, I start feeling dizzy, which is every morning also when she drinks the herbs. So I tell her, look, in my opinion, start taking a shower in the evening, not in the morning when you drink. So the next week, we go online again, and it's all recorded. She said to stop feeling hot, and with the same herbs, we didn't change. I'm using this example to show later, we'll talk about the herbs and how to do it. In medicine, there needs to be a big clarity. It needs to be very, very clear what is doing what and why. And if symptom comes from the herbs, it's very clear that it could be from this one herb. If it's not possible from the herb, it needs to be very clear it's not from the herb. You need to find from where. This is all has to be very clear. And this sounds, of course, very clear. The idea is very clear. But when I practiced in the first 10 years of my practice, what I learned at the beginning, it was absolutely not the case. You try something, it works. Doesn't work, you try something else. There's no idea why it didn't work, why it works. Absolutely not. So now let's go over the symptoms. Continue the symptoms. Why it happens here and what happens here, we already got. Now after we start dealing with the energy, it's no more with the bowel movement. Also, if we have acute constipation, we also say, right? Here we deal with the breathing, with the lungs, because there's no material anymore. It's still coming in, but it's not the separation thing. Separation is in the first department, with food and water. When we start talking about air, the air does not go in the toilet thing. It's only directly going into unification. It goes into this department. Slowing down here will give us the myriad coughing of all sorts and asthma and shortness of breath and things like that. When this department goes too slow, we say after we eat, you start feeling bloated. It's different than if a person feels bloated all the time, not related to if they eat or not. And if it moves too fast and it can't go into unification, we said we have diarrhea, like the opposite. If we have bloated here, which is also constipation, but of the chronic type, like for many years, every once a week, twice a week, it's different than this. It's different constipation, but it's the same still problem, but it's already this issue. This feeling bloated after eating food, and someone, which doesn't happen so often, but people that feel bloated all the time is a different kind of a problem. Like, let's say around the period, bloated, some women feel bloated. It's not related to if they eat food or not, it's a different kind of problem. When we get into unification, which means the body goes into, the heart starts to be dormant. We go into unification. This helps us sleep. At night we don't feel so much, help us sleep. So when there is a problem, we start seeing problem with the sleep, in light, dreams, that kind of. When we go, and this we also say it related to the heart being calm or not. So heart palpitation, anxiety, all the symptoms are they're related, but also they're related, which we will talk about. When we start to move out of the circle, we start to going from the center into the body, the physical body. One thing, we talked about the period being too fast or too slow, heavy bleeding or light bleeding, so one of the symptoms. We also talked about pain when it moves too slow, and that relates to the entire body. Inside or outside, it means it moves too slow. And this is, just by the way, that kind of acupuncture that helps muscle pains and the such, it stimulates the energy to move. That's why all pains are from slowing down, and all acupuncture could help pain become better or speed it up. Different theories, and today in this seminar we don't deal with the million theories of acupuncture. This, that system, that master tone or meridian, because everyone has a system, everything is good. We also talked about all of these three, the three yin, Tai yin, Shao yin, Jue yin, all this yin, as related to sleep. Going into sleep or sleeping throughout the night or waking up early or late, you localize it where it is. We didn't yet talk, and we're talking now about the last two pieces of the pizza, if you want to call them like this, the last two pieces. Here we also call it concealed separation, and here revealed separation, meaning it's the same process, but here you start seeing it in the body. And this part, the Tai Yang, is a continuation of this. It's also going out, and it becomes more superficial all the way to the outside. This is the skin, the hair, the energy outside. This is called the outside connection. Yeah, so remember we call this unification instrument. This is called separation instrument. This is called making an internal connection. This is called making an external connection. And just a side note, it's a big story, but just to make it interesting, we said the organs here are like the small intestine, the urinary bladder, and here it's the heart and the kidneys, which from Chinese medicine point of view is the water and fire and water. Like this is what we call the vertical axis. Remember the fire and water diagram? This is what life, this connection is about, water, fire. And this, yesterday we talked about a little bit, remember the Jing Wei, vertical, horizontal. It's actually a very big story, but we don't need it for the diagnosis. It's just like for more learning, there's a lot of stuff. So if you ask me with all honesty, why can't I learn in 3 days everything? It's just, that's the way it is. The truth is, for me, also after many years, I always feel like I don't know. And it's many years, like, but there's more. That's the attitude. You need to have this attitude. So we go back to the symptoms. So these energy that separates to the outside now show a revealed place, right? These are the three yang, meaning it starts to show out, but it's the separation process. It's not the food coming in. It's about the body start doing things, and that here it involves all the malfunctions in the body, the physical, the tendon pains, the muscle pains, the skin problem. They all come here. Now, when I say all the pain and skin problem, right now we're just talking about where it is. It not necessarily means that that's the problem. Meaning this is where the symptom is. But many times the problem is here or here or here, and the symptom is there. That's in the diagnosis coming up next week. And again, we didn't talk about the heart yet, but for example, let's say someone gets really anxious and agitated and all of a sudden have a flare-up of eczema. The problem is in the skin, but the real problem is in the heart. In other words, it's not even though the symptom is in the skin, but it's not a skin problem. It's when you get anxious, the problem comes to the skin. And this is what we'll talk about next. Right now we just identify where is it, but then how to do a diagnosis, we need to consider other things. So all problems that we have on the skin and muscles, all the muscular problems, it's all here. And generally speaking, for these problems, acupuncture is the best treatment. Because the principle that I understand in Chinese medicine is to do more with less, not to do less with more. In other words, if the problem is superficial, you need to use the least invasive, least troublemaking to get the most result. This is the right move. But here now, I just want to make the difference between these two parts. Like, what's the difference? So here, even though it's one unfolding from the center outside to the skin, from the center of the body to outside of the skin, pain and aches and symptoms that start from the middle and show in the body are identified here in what we call Shaolin. Start from inside my body, make it, like I just said before, the eczema, the pain, the tendon. Start from the inside the body, stop working. This is this problem, Shaolin. And on the other hand, from the out, this, remember, is the separation instrument. This is our contact with outside, with nature. Things that start from the outside and impact my body, like catching a cold, sun coming, make me dizzy. These are like Tai-Yang problems. Coming from the outside, the body doesn't work. In other words, even though this is all outside, let's say I have something here that make me skin red, either for something I eat or because of motion, make the skin red. Versus I go out in the sun, it make the skin red. I feel great, no problem. I'm inside, no red skin. I go outside, like, or wind or something, make it red, this will be the difference. Like, same symptom, it's here or here, like what causes it. You know, since 2,000 years ago from the Shanghai moon, you have like 6 pieces for the pizza. 3 yin and 3 yang. But he said really 3 yin and 3 yang is 1 yin and 1 yang. And he says really 1 yin and 1 yang is one mouthful of qi. Like it's one thing. This is the idea of seeing the parts but then start putting it together. It's all related. It's not really different.